Helldivers 2 is the best PS5 console exclusive for co-op right now in early 2024. This sci-fi third-person action shooter is full of dumb fun, chaos, friendly fire hilarity, and more that makes it a must-play for anyone on PS5 or PC. It's spectacularly good in multiplayer generally, but an incredible amount of bombastic fun when you play with friends in particular. The Starship Troopers vibes are ever present and really well done in Helldiver 2, and the setting, tone, sense of humor, and action all combine to make spreading managed democracy across the galaxy an absolute blast. The chaos is intoxicating with encounters that can test your skills as well as your patience sometimes with your teammates, with lethal friendly fire always on by default, but the battle against Terminids and automatons across the galaxy to save Super Earth is never not enjoyable. The Final Fantasy VII Remake ambitiously retells the opening hours of the original game and stretches it out to a nearly 40-hour journey. It's a fairly linear experience that ends with Cloud and the gang outside the walls of Midgar ready to explore an unknown world. The sequel, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, picks up right where its predecessor left off and is somehow much larger in scope than anyone could have imagined. With an immersive open world full of engaging activities, mini-games, and a consistently entertaining soundtrack, Rebirth perfectly encapsulates the feeling of exploring the original Fantasy VII. Beyond its excellent design, Rebirth also contains some of the best combat in any RPG, expanding on the formula from Remake to create an endlessly fascinating and fast-paced take on the original ATB system. Simultaneously hilarious and heartbreaking, Rebirth is an essential title for anyone with a PlayStation 5. Those looking for more of what made God of War 2018 great will find plenty to love in its sequel. Not only does God of War Ragnarok add in new ways to fight, traverse and interact with the world, it builds upon familiar systems, all in the service of the game's deeply emotional narrative. This time around, Kratos and Atreus find themselves at a fork in the road, with one path governed by prophecy, and the other an unknown and dangerous way forward. Atreus has grown up a lot since the last game and is now struggling to control his ever-growing powers, much to the dismay of his father. Kratos must learn to trust his son as he follows him on a collision course with gods, monsters, and old enemies. If you like a challenge and are after one of the most original PS5 exclusive games, then Returnal could be just the ticket. It's a third-person action shooter that is intensely interesting and wondrous to play, from its aesthetic and environment to its weapons and intense combat, and from its slowly revealing story to its subtle but effective plays on your senses through 3D audio and the DualSense's haptic feedback. Playing as Selene, a space pilot who has crashed her ship on the alien planet of Atropos. The key factor on Atropos that affects Selene as she tries to figure out what has happened, what is happening, and how to get off the planet is that it is stuck in a time loop. Ghost of Tsushima was a superb final first-party game to grace the PS4, and the director's cut version that was released for PS5 released in 2021 is now one of the best PS5 exclusives available, offering an enhanced and visually upgraded experience, as well as one that will load quicker, has proper lip syncing for Japanese, features haptic feedback, a higher potential frame rate, and some new cosmetics for Jin. It really is a superb repackaging that offers much more than just a light do-over. The biggest offering of the Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut is the Iki Island expansion. This is a brand new expansion, exclusive to the Director's Cut, which adds a whole new area to explore and soak up. Iki Island takes Jin to the place where his father died and offers an excellent and enhanced crystallized Ghost of Tsushima experience. If you're on the hunt for an open world, narrative-driven adventure in your search for the best PS5 game for you, then look no further than Horizon Forbidden West. Developing and expanding on all that was great about Horizon Zero Dawn on PS4, Aloy's next adventure is staggeringly beautiful, gripping, and filled with exciting robot dinosaur action. Some will say that it doesn't change a whole lot from Zero Dawn or break ground that much, but Forbidden West absolutely is one of the best experiences you can get on PS5 right now. Absolutely do not skip the side quests, with some of the best we've played on PS5 or any platform for that matter in recent years. Its DLC Burning Shores is well worth checking out too, as it offers a much more focused adventure set in sunken and overgrown LA. If you're looking for a charming and humorous PS5 exclusive from one of PlayStation's finest series, then Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is absolutely one to pick up. It's a breath of fresh air, doesn't take itself too seriously, and offers one of the finest experiences on PS5, taking advantage of almost everything we wanted a bit more from the 3D audio when we reviewed it can with the current gen console. One of the best ways to experience what the game is all about is when you get to combine superb traversal with combat. Chaining together attacks with weapons like those that can turn your enemies into shrubs while zooming onto a nearby speed boost is fluid, smooth, and satisfying. You'll learn to use different weapons and armor for different enemies as you go, while there's also plenty of opportunity to upgrade and alter them. The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is a brilliant PS5 version of one of the very best PS4 games and represents the definitive way to play the sequel. The bleak story of Ellie and Abby unravels a dark tale of revenge, and the cycle of violence is every bit as absorbing and dramatic on the PS5. The PS5 enhancements over its predecessor helped to elevate the experience and action in Part 2 Remastered superbly. Feeling Abby's weapons kick through the DualSense or Ellie's bowstring tighten when pulled, along with feeling the weather effects drastically deepen the immersion into the game. The graphical boosts are most welcome too, with increased texture resolutions, 4K imagery, and a variety of performance modes to choose from. Spider-Man 2 builds from the foundation of the first game and Spider-Man Miles Morales to create one of the most seamless and endlessly riveting open worlds on the PlayStation 5. Swinging around New York City feels amazing, and the DualSense controller uses unique features like haptic feedback and adaptive triggers to make you feel like an actual superhero. One of the most impressive aspects of Spider-Man 2 is how it balances the two protagonists' stories to give them unique but equally compelling arcs that eventually tie into each other. Both Peter and Miles have grown since their first adventure, and the game does an excellent job of depicting what it would be like to be a superhero who can't hold a job because of their secret identity. With a riveting plot, exciting combat, and worthwhile side activities, you'll be stuck in Spider-Man 2's web after the opening hour and won't want to leave. Once you finally have your PS5 at home, it will take some time to download the majority of the games you bought along with it. Fortunately, the console comes pre-installed with one of its best games, which you can play right away while you wait. Astro's Playroom is so much fun that by the time your other games finish installing, you might not want to leave its vibrant and creative world. Though it's a short experience, Astro's Playroom is packed with exciting levels, stellar music, and a fascinating retrospective on the history of PlayStation consoles. Astrobot is one of Sony's more adorable mascots, and guiding him through gorgeous levels is an absolute blast. The best part about the game, though, is how it utilizes the DualSense controller's many features such as haptic feedback and adaptive triggers to create an immersive platformer unlike any other. When Demon's Souls was first released for the PlayStation 3 in 2009, it was beloved by the few who played it but wasn't able to make it into the mainstream on its own. Over time, its spiritual successors gained more momentum, and eventually the Souls series and their spin-offs became some of the most popular and anticipated games of the generation. When Sony announced that Bluepoint Studios would be remaking the often overlooked original, fans couldn't have been more delighted. The Demon's Souls remake launched alongside the PS5 in 2020 and remains one of the best exclusives in its library. It features new weapons, armor, and an enhanced character creator, among other quality of life improvements. Its astonishing graphics and incredible gameplay create an immersive adventure in a world full of secrets and magnificent bosses. Stellar Blade is the console debut from Shift Up, a studio that had previously worked on a mobile title before starting development on this ambitious action-adventure game for the PlayStation 5. Fusing elements from Dark Souls and Nier Automata, Stellar Blade was a delight for many after it defied expectations and surprised everyone with its unique twists, gorgeous visuals, and phenomenal action sequences. Everything about the game looks so fantastic and smooth that it's hard to imagine Stellar Blade running on anything else except for the PlayStation 5. Most of your experience with the game could be spent sitting on the edge of your seat as you marvel at giant set pieces and face jaw-dropping bosses. The weakest element of Stellar Blade is the story, but everything surrounding it is so much fun that it's easy to look over just so you can embark on the next mission. Since the original Final Fantasy launched on the Famicom and NES, the series has consistently subverted and reconstructed the definition of an RPG. Final Fantasy XVI mostly throws the turn-based mechanics of its predecessors away in favor of a more action-oriented playstyle that's reminiscent of Bayonetta and Devil May Cry. It's a bold strategy that creates a refreshing journey while still feeling like a Final Fantasy game. Heavily inspired by Game of Thrones, Final Fantasy XVI follows Clive Rosfield as he seeks revenge for a betrayal that changed his life forever. It might not be the longest Final Fantasy game, but its focused narrative keeps the plot moving at a steady pace that continues to build until the epic final battle. Between the fast-paced combat system and the spectacular battles between the godlike icons, Final Fantasy XVI feels like a game that could only run on the PlayStation 5 due to its scale and ambition. Rise of the Ronin was developed by Team Ninja, a studio known for creating exciting skill-based action games like Neo, Wo Long Fallen Dynasty, and Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. This PlayStation 5 exclusive takes the best elements from those titles, such as the fantastic art direction, world building, and satisfying gameplay, to create an immersive adventure that's easy to get lost in. One of the greatest aspects of Rise of the Ronin is how much it allows you to customize your experience with it. There are multiple weapons to choose from, a refreshing number of traversal options that all feel fantastic, and pivotal story moments that require you to make important decisions that impact the narrative. The Rise of the Ronin might not have made a huge splash when it launched, but it's definitely worth hopping into if you're looking for a challenge, an engaging open world, or something to play with a couple of friends. Despite many of its spin-offs appearing on other consoles, like the Wii, the mainline Silent Hill games are often associated with the PlayStation. The series has re-entered the zeitgeist as multiple games are currently in development, including a remake of Silent Hill 2 and a few new titles, and The Short Message was the first playable entry since the PT demo launched in 2014. As per its title, The Short Message is only a couple of hours long, but most people would agree that it overstays its welcome. It plays similarly to PT, as you walk through narrow hallways, but it fails to ever reach the same heights as its predecessor and feels more like a poor imitation instead of an innovative step forward. If you're curious about The Short Message, the best part about it is that it is free to download. It's a shame how few vehicular combat games are available these days. The genre was immensely popular in the late 90s, but quickly became oversaturated with games and nearly disappeared completely. Sony attempted to breathe new life into the genre with Destruction All-Stars, but it ended up crashing and burning with its concept. Destruction All-Stars almost has everything it needs to be a hit. The diverse roster of characters is compelling and unique, and each driver has their own abilities and vehicles. While the game was originally announced to be sold at full price, Sony instead released it for free to PlayStation Plus subscribers for the first 2 months after its launch. Unfortunately, the free price tag and interesting characters couldn't save Destruction All-Stars from its underwhelming gameplay and bland stages. Even though there are only a few PS5 exclusives, Quantum Error has gone so far below the radar that most people don't even know it exists. It was barely featured in Sony showcases, and rough reviews pushed it further away from general interest. Developed by a small team, Quantum Error follows a firefighter in space as he investigates horrific research facilities. There are some interesting ideas here, like the ability to switch between first-person or third-person perspectives, but a plethora of bugs and questionable decisions burn away any possible feelings of enjoyment while playing it.